for Tuesday, December 18th, 2018. Silver is trading at $14.65 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,249 per ounce. Zen is trading at $5, and the average price of Bitcoin is $3,539. Antiwar.com reports, speaking on Monday, U.S. Special Envoy James Jeffrey confirmed that the U.S. is no longer demanding regime change in Syria and is not actively trying to force Syrian President Bashar Assad from office. That said, the American goal is a regime that is fundamentally different, even if it includes Assad. Jeffrey said Assad must accept such a compromise because he has not yet won the Syrian war. The U.S. has long demanded regime change as part of the end to the Syrian war, and even in staying in Syria militarily, officials have conditioned leaving on a successful transition and insisted that Assad could not be involved. Now there's resignation that Assad will stay, but Jeffrey says the U.S. and its allies are prepared to withhold any aid to reconstruct Syria unless there is some assurance that the changes they are demanding are implemented. Zencash has changed their name to Horizon to better represent their transition from a cryptocurrency to a pioneering platform that protects consumer data. They're working towards the day when anyone will be able to build privacy-based applications on the Horizon platform and generate income from them. This will allow Horizon to bring thousands of real-life services to the community. Services that provide freedom, utility, and privacy. HORIZEN.global. UPI reports nearly 3 in 10 Americans are delaying healthcare treatments because of their cost, according to a new Gallup survey released on Monday. Gallup's annual health and healthcare survey found 29% postponed treatments for the cost. It said more than half of them reported a serious or somewhat serious medical illness or condition, a figure equivalent to 19% of all U.S. adults. The share of Americans who delayed treatment is consistent with data in recent polls. In 1991, 22% of respondents put off medical treatment, and an average of 24% delayed care between 2001 and 2004. The current rate of 29% has remained steady in years since. Delayed treatment depends on available health insurance, another consistent finding. Gallup found that those with no coverage are more likely to forego treatment, with over half of the respondents in that category reporting a delay. The report found those enrolled in Medicare or Medicaid are least likely to wait. The poll results said Americans with health insurance are still often responsible for deductibles, copayments, and other out-of-pocket costs. While it reduces demand for healthcare services, it can prevent many people from initiating treatment for medical conditions. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports a woman who climbed the Statue of Liberty's stone pedestal to protest U.S. immigration policy declared in federal court on Monday she would do it again to call attention to the plight of families separated at the border and was found guilty of trespassing. Therese Patricia Okamo was also convicted of interfering with governmental administration and disorderly conduct before a U.S. magistrate judge in New York City. Each misdemeanor carries a maximum sentence of 6 months in jail, according to Nicholas Biasi, a spokesman for the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York. Okamo, a native of the Democratic Republic of Congo, who the New York Daily News said became a U.S. citizen in 2016, remains free pending her sentencing on March 5th. In a statement announcing the guilty verdict, U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman said Okamo's actions went well beyond peaceable protest. Berman said it was a crime that put people at grave risk, calling her conduct dangerous and reckless. Okamo was arrested on July 4th after she scaled the base of the statue, and after not complying with police for 3 hours, police evacuated the landmark in the midst of the U.S. Independence Day holiday. She and her lawyer later said her act of civil disobedience was primarily a demonstration against the Trump administration's policy of separating migrant children from parents who were caught crossing the U.S. border illegally. Administration officials said the policy was needed to secure the border, but it was ended in June after images of separated youngsters held in cage-like detention facilities sparked a furor both at home and abroad. Testifying in her own defense on Monday, Okamo was asked by her attorney, Ron Kuby, whether she would repeat her protest under the same circumstances. She answered yes, adding, "As long as our children are being placed in cages, my moral values call for me to do something about it." This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
It was a big night for music's hottest acts, especially for Lord Chillingsworth. In a shocking upset, the young artist took home the spookiest Halloween sound effect album Grammy for Creepy Night in Halloween Manor. Music blogger Ty Vaughn is here. Ty, what a shocker.
Lord Chillingsworth's track, Man Being Boiled Alive While Chains Rattle in a Dungeon, was crazy spooky. It was everywhere this year. Haunted houses, Halloween stores, nighttime hayrides. Anywhere you look, people were getting the willies from this album.
But a lot of people thought Grammy darling Dr. Spookenstein was a shoo-in to win for his album Laboratory of Madness.
And that was a great album. Critics praised Spookenstein's stripped-down approach, rattling real bones together and dripping real blood onto a screaming lady.
The class act Spookenstein offered a gracious congratulations to Chillingsworth, saying, "I'm a fan of every bloody who was nominated, especially Chillingsworth. I have a skeleton ton of respect for him as an artist. I just saw him on the red carpet and congratulated him."
This is the Onion News Network.
The Call to Freedom is an opinion show. It's meant for informational purposes only. It is not licensed financial advice. It is very important to do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with or independently research and verify any information that you hear from the Call of Freedom and wish to rely upon, whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. I mean, come on, guys. Duh. It's a cryptocurrency investment and a political talk radio. Of course, it's opinions.
Computers are online. I'm gonna start loading software.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Call to Freedom.
Broadcasting live from Vertcoin Studios on LRN FM.
You're listening to Will.
You will listen to every damn word I have to say!
And Aria.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Stay tuned for political talk and everything crypto. That's right.
Broadcasting internationally on our BitPlus Network satellite.
This is
The Call to Freedom.
All right, let's boot it up.
That's right. Welcome to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. We are broadcasting live from the Horizon.global studio here in freezing cold New Hampshire. It actually feels colder today than it did yesterday.
It's not that bad.
It is that bad. I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Can you hear you?
I can't hear me either.
I'm sorry. You're on 3, not 2.
There we go.
Yeah, sorry about that. One of those days. So I'm joined in the studio, as you hear, by Chris Wade. Will is not with us again today, but it's not for anything bad this time. He's just having a birthday party with his kids. So happy birthday to whichever one of his 40,000 kids whose birthday it is.
It's only 30 degrees outside. I got a light jacket on.
Yeah, but
it's not so bad.
It is.
It's not so bad. You look like you have a light jacket sweatshirt on too.
I do. I was going to grab a different one, but
you may need something a little bit heavier than that.
Well, I have a heavier
slightly,
one, but I don't feel like grabbing it today.
Fair enough.
It's a little tighter than I would like. Well, we have interesting and stupid news today, of course. Chris actually has an interesting story I want to talk about at some point.
Yeah, I think you were more interested than I was.
Yeah, well, yeah. But first of all, New York ban on nunchucks has been ruled unconstitutional by a federal court.
Yay. But they're just going to regulate it to death, so you're not going to actually be able to.
They are, but nunchucks. I did not know that nunchucks were illegal in New York.
Everything's illegal in New York.
Good point. Apparently, a 1974 New York state ban on nunchucks that was put into place over fears that youth inspired by martial arts movies would create widespread mayhem is unconstitutional under the Second Amendment. Now, why doesn't that apply to guns or any of the other things that are impossible to get in New York?
It probably does. It's just not. They're regulating it as opposed to outlawing it outright. Now, technically, the regulations effectively make it impossible for anybody to actually get a gun, even when they have a good reason to have a gun. But hey, it's government.
It is government. The plaintiff, James Maloney, started his legal quest after being charged with possession of nunchucks in his home in 2000.
I want to know how they got into his home or why he let them in his home in the first place.
Well, he
Like,
was probably
how did this
being
even come
searched
about?
for drugs or something. They looked and said, "Are those nunchucks?
Yeah,
Do
you're
you
probably
have
right.
nunchucks in your home?" It's
They just found
totally
something
stupid.
Yeah.
He initially filed a complaint in 2003 and appealed all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court when the case went against him. The Supreme Court in 2010 remanded the case back down to be reconsidered in light of a Second Amendment decision it had made in another case. And Maloney filed an amendment complaint later that year. Blah, blah, blah. In her ruling, Chen said the court simply couldn't take that part out and ruled that the state's law, as it pertained to possessing nunchucks as well as to manufacturing, transporting, or disposing of them, was in violation of the Second Amendment. The ruling went over the history of the ban, and it said it arose out of concern that as a result of the rising popularity of kung fu movies and shows, various circles of the state's youth, including muggers and street gangs, were widely using nunchaku to cause many serious injuries. I have to know how many nunchuck-related injuries there were in New York.
Yeah, it seems kind of out there.
It's like they think they watched the Ninja Turtles with its Foot Clan and they thought that it was a documentary. We got this Foot Clan out here stealing cassette tapes, and they're running around with nunchucks and bow sticks, and it's just chaos.
Yeah, I'm always amazed. It kind of reminds me of how New Hampshire has this law that's, actually, it's not really applicable anymore. But basically, in order to get a concealed gun permit, you have to apply to the police department or something, and then somebody arbitrarily makes a decision on whether or not you can have a permit. And it was appealed to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court was like, "Oh yeah, that's fine, that's cool." He was okay in declining, the permit because there was some nonviolent offenses that had been committed, and it's arbitrary. It's it's a total runaround the Constitution.
I mean, that's been repealed though here in New Hampshire, right?
It was a state law, and the state law, the requirement to have a permit for concealed carry was eliminated. So you can still get a concealed permit, but the reason you would get a concealed permit is so that you can go to other states with your concealed gun, I guess.
But you don't need a permit at all here in New Hampshire now, correct?
Right, that's correct.
Good. So always good to know I'm not in violation of any state law at this exact moment. Maybe later, but not right now.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer, so if you just clarify that, seek legal advice if you want a proper answer.
Well, I mean, if you're a chick, you should be a chick of whatever description. You should be carrying a weapon because it's a dangerous world, notoriously, and this is equally true for dudes as well. But where is a chick going to put a gun other than a purse, which by definition makes it concealed?
Very true.
So, I mean, everything goes into the purse. There's just these black holes of crap. I've got a Charms blow pop in my sucker that's been in there for God only knows how long that I should just throw away, but I'm never near a garbage can when I'm actually digging around in my purse looking for crap. It's just full of junk. And it's a small purse. We're talking, most chicks have these huge, massive suitcase-sized purses that they carry around because they like back pain, apparently. In other news, before we get into the real meat of the show, a second Brexit referendum once seemed unthinkable, but now support is growing. I'm not surprised that a second referendum is now being considered. I mean, they've been talking about that since the first one. And I got into many, many arguments about Brexit with people, even though, oh no, I'm interfering in the UK election by posting my opinions online about it. But I'm of the mind that, what we're dealing with are crybaby statists or globalists who weren't happy that some amount of national sovereignty might be restored to the United Kingdom. And I saw one person make the proposal that, okay, well, how about this? Brexit can't pass unless it reaches at least 70% of the vote. I was like, but He was like, and if it only gets below 70%, then we just default to staying in. I was like, but that's not the way this works. Because the default position here is Brexit failing and staying within the European Union, or loosely in the European Union.
Yeah, it seems to me like the way it's going to end up going is all the stuff that you don't want is going to continue, and all the stuff you do want to happen is like going to go away. So like you'll end up with free trade maybe, but you won't end up with free movement of people, or I don't know, probably a whole bunch of other stuff. So all the laws that are kind of like the argument of going away will probably end up they'll probably end up staying and so forth.
I remember people freaking out about it and saying, oh, this is going to destroy the United Kingdom. It's not going to exist any longer and things like that. And I was like, dude, do you remember Nazi Europe? The United Kingdom, Great Britain stood alone against them. And they didn't collapse. They didn't die. It wasn't the...
What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to SaveItPurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. SaveItPurse.com.
Anyone can publish on the internet, but not everyone is publishing material suited for online reading. According to the Yahoo Style Guide, it cautions that internet content has a few seconds, 3 or less, to encourage people to read more, to take action, or navigate to another one of your pages. So make it easy for readers to pick and choose. Isn't that the way you poke around online? Use short words, short sentences, short paragraphs, bulleted lists, and short pages. Front load what you write, putting the most important information at the beginning of headlines and paragraphs and sentences. Same goes for your keywords, what someone would likely type into the search box on Yahoo or Google. For more tips on communicating better online or in a job interview or everyday life, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm. Free Talk Live.
You can tell by the way they're dressed, by their demeanor, that these are illegals. Okay. Do you understand that they bring in leprosy and tuberculosis?
God, here's the leprosy. Show me the news story about leprosy and not some crackpot website.
Do you understand this is our country and this is about our children?
Wait, stop the jingoistic crap. You're picking and choosing. You're saying that a bunch of murdering, raping lepers are coming across the border.
Oh, yes, they are.
No, that's nuts, Trish.
There's a leprosy colony
if that was the case, this, then in fact we would all know about it. I mean, it sounds like the night of the living dead down there at the border, and they're just coming across looking for the brains.
You think CNN and Fox News is going to tell you this? You got another thing coming.
Why wouldn't they? It'd be great for ratings.
By design, it's meant to bring this country.
Oh, now there's a conspiracy behind it, right? You're going to tell me the NWO's behind all this?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
You are listening to the Call to Freedom on LRN.fm. Unasikiliza wito wa uhuru katika LRN.fm.
Tell me what you've heard about my life. Maybe a thotty little fairy tale, a girl of the night. I grew up filthy and shred up my queen. Drug pregnant, statistical team. I know you heard about the bloody.
All right, welcome back to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM, broadcasting live from the Horizon.Global studio here in Keene, New Hampshire. And we're having a brief discussion about the Brexit referendum and how we're not at all surprised to hear that a second referendum is being proposed, and that the way this seems to be going is just a total neutering of everything good that could have come of it, and just making sure that everything bad happens, probably, and I realize this is me putting on my tinfoil hat, but probably to discourage other nations from pulling a Brexit of their own.
Absolutely.
What they're saying now, last week, former Prime Minister Tony Blair said, because of the current political chaos and future economic risks, the British should have another say on whether to leave the European Union if there are no other viable options. I mean, that's the state and democracy in a nutshell. I mean, let's just keep voting until we get the result we want.
The whole thing was supposed to be a multi-part process anyway, so there was always going to be a second vote.
Was there?
Yeah, from the very beginning, from the beginning of the EU, entering the EU, there was like some sort of process for exiting it. So, and that process involves a two-part vote, I believe.
Well, I know the terms and conditions and things like that had to be worked out between the United Kingdom and Brussels, but I don't think second referendum about the people of the United Kingdom was actually required or stipulated.
I believe it was, and I believe there was also a prior agreement to how you're supposed to leave the EU. Like, you can't just say, we're leaving. You have to do it in a certain orderly approach.
Well, I mean, you can, but it would probably lead to war. But clearly, a second referendum was not expected and is not a critical part of the process. I mean, the headline
referendum? Yeah, it was.
No, it's not. A second Brexit referendum once seemed unthinkable.
That's wrong. I don't know where they're getting their information from, but
I'm going to go with NPR here.
No, there was always going to be a second referendum.
I don't think that could possibly be true.
Yeah,
but let's see, Google it.
We'll see what the article has to say.
Yeah, analysts say it is a function of dwindling options and the risk of parliamentary gridlock. The Prime Minister's Brexit divorce deal is so unpopular, she canceled last week's parliamentary vote and is now aiming to bring it up the week of January the 14th, in hopes that legislators will have a change of heart over the holidays. If May's deal fails, the default option is to leave the European Union with no deal at all, which is certain to cause disruption and economic damage to the United Kingdom. To which I would, again, point out, as I was saying before the break, is that, we're talking about a notoriously stubborn people here who survived against Nazi Europe essentially alone. I mean, they took the brunt of the attacks. Well, the Soviet Union
how many of those
did
people
as well.
are still alive, though? I mean,
well, very few of them.
It's probably a small percentage of the population that remains in Britain.
Yeah, but that stubbornness didn't come from nowhere. I mean, it's ingrained in their culture, and it has been for centuries. I don't know what the word is. And, the Pink Floyd song said it best. Lying here in quiet desperation is the English way.
I don't think I think that he'll survive just fine, independent of the EU, but yeah.
Well, I mean, these people are acting like it's an economic collapse and that the
it
United
be.
Kingdom can't possibly survive something of this scale. And it's like, dude, do you not realize how damaging World War II was?
Yeah, and it's not like the EU is somehow, or it's not like there's not other countries that the EU trades with, right? It's like EU has agreements with other countries for trade. So trade is the most important thing. Now, they may not be as favorable as what the UK currently has, but that doesn't mean they can't exist without the EU, being part of the EU.
Members of Parliament are toying with this idea of should we put it back to a people's vote, said Maddox, to say to people, look, now that you've got a better idea of what Brexit really looks like, what do you think? Tell us what to do because we can't reach an agreement ourselves. Well, they already told you what to do. It's your job to do it. You're incapable of doing it, probably because you don't want to do it. But that doesn't matter. You know, all of this is fear-mongering. The conditions there now are the same as the conditions were for the original Brexit vote.
Is the controlling party different than it was? Because my understanding was that it was likely to change by the time the second vote came around.
I don't know.
Okay. I'm not sure either.
But I'm again going to point out, though, that there was no expectation of a second vote.
I recall there always being a second vote, and the second vote was going to happen, from what I understood, at a point in which there would likely be a different group of people in power.
Parliament had to take the referendum because it was a non-binding referendum, and they had to vote in accordance with the people. I mean, they didn't have to, but it was basically a referendum requiring Parliament to vote on leaving the European Union, which entailed, you know, the expressed opinion that the people of the United Kingdom wanted to leave the European Union. But that was not a second referendum. That was this is what we, the people, want. So Parliament needs to do
My
it.
recollection of what was supposed to happen was that the Parliament was going to negotiate terms, and then there was going to be a second referendum or something of some sort of vote of the people on whether or not they wanted to take it or leave it. And that was going to be under another like group of politicians in power, you know, so.
Well, this is dragging on for a very long time. Wasn't the Brexit vote in like 2015? I mean, yeah, but it had like a 2-year hard limit on it.
Yeah,
and we've got to be getting to that
and
point
I think that's been extended. I believe they're extending it. Yeah,
they're going to extend it.
Something's been extended, something's been extended or other. That's what they're negotiating now. Is I think the extension is what they're currently negotiating still.
Well, a Sky data poll from Monday shows 53% of respondents would support holding a referendum on whether to back the Prime Minister's deal, no deal, or remaining in the European Union, while 36% would oppose it. The same poll also found that 51% agreed with the Prime Minister that a second vote would break faith with the British people, while 42% said it wouldn't. I would again agree. You know, the generation that voted for Brexit is still the generation in the United Kingdom. We're not dealing with a generation of people voting on something that they didn't already vote on.
Wasn't it? It was pretty close, though, wasn't it?
I mean, it was close, but all votes are pretty close. I mean,
yeah,
really.
But it means that there very likely could be another vote, and that vote could end up going in the opposite direction. So it could end up being that they end up sticking in the EU.
Well, it absolutely would. But at what point should we just keep holding votes until people get the turnout they want and the results that they want? I'm of the mind that if we're going to have a democratic republic filled with universal suffrage, then once we have a vote on the matter, that's it. It's the responsibility of the government to act upon it, at least as long as the generation that voted upon it is still the existent generation. I understand bringing it back up with the next generation and checking out again. Maybe we don't want to keep that anymore.
I don't necessarily think having, you know, more. Obviously, it's not clear cut that everybody wants to leave. So,
well, it was never going to be.
You know, well, yeah, it's true.
I mean, it was never clear cut that we wanted President Trump either, but he's still president. I mean, we could have reheld the election and turnout would have been different once people knew that, you know, it was a realistic possibility that Trump was going to win. But I mean, that just gives the state.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way.
You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, Hey.
Who do you think you are?
Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't gonna make it.
Wait a minute.
Forget the road.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me? Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this?
Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
You are listening to The Call to Freedom. Live on LRN.fm. تستمعون إلى نداء للحرية مباشرة على LRN.fm.
All right, welcome back to Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. We are broadcasting live, as always, from the Horizon.global studio here in cold, wintry New Hampshire. Not a fan of that, but, you know, it's doing me better than it is doing Jackie, who is on the show here occasionally. She is apparently not dealing with it well at all. Which is funny because where I'm from, it's notoriously warmer than it is where she's from.
Has anybody explained to her that she needs to get like a jacket and warm clothes? And has anybody showed her how to use the thermostat?
I don't know. I was told that constantly. Well, the thermostat issue is not quite possible for her at the moment, I don't think.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But as far as warm clothes go, I had to explain to me at length, yes, get warm clothes. And I still haven't because I'm from Mississippi where we just sort of deal with the cold weather because it's so brief. But that's not the case here. And I'm still adjusting mentally to that. Like in Mississippi, if you wake up and it's like 22 degrees, as it was when I woke up at 1:30 this afternoon, then no biggie, just wait around a couple of hours and it'll be 55 degrees. So you don't want to put on 15 layers and things like that. Just wait a few hours.
I do recommend people who live up north wait and not get up at 6 a.m. in the morning. Wait until, later in the day, 10, 11 at least.
Oh, that's perfect. I'm out like a light at 10, 11 in the morning.
You're still asleep, you mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's probably a wise move.
Yeah.
I think during the day, it's usually not too terrible.
I normally go to sleep around 6 or 7 a.m. and then wake up around 1 p.m., somewhere around there. It's fun. I like it. But I
thought I was bad.
Well, I'm usually at work until like 3 in the morning.
Yeah, fair enough.
But we've been talking about Brexit, and we're actually going to move on to other things because, we've about milked that for all it's really worth. Chris has an interesting story he shared with us in the Telegram chat earlier today.
Yeah, this is a very interesting story. So this comes from the Free Thought Project. And the title of the story is "Outrage Sparked as School Kids Now Taught That Boys Can Have Periods Too," to be inclusive. You heard that right. Apparently, biologically, boys have changed. Let me read the article.
Yeah, let's do that.
A Brighton primary school will now begin teaching children as young as 8 that trans boys and men and non-binary people people may have periods as part of new guidance on menstruation and sex education.
Well, see, that's technically correct, though, because a trans man is a man who was born as a woman. So at least until they are post-op, or if they choose to be post-op, they may be non-op. But if they're pre-op, then sure, or non-op, then absolutely they would still have periods because they still have vaginas and ovaries and all of that. I think the underlying difficulty that people are going to have is that boys have vaginas too, which is ultimately what that really means.
Fair enough. The instructions were included in the Taking a Period Positive Approach in Brighton and Hove School's guidelines issued by the local council in early December. I 8 years old, like I don't know, man. At what point were you? Did you go through a public school, and did they have?
I did, but I was in Mississippi, so
okay.
Our sex ed involved some discussion of abstinence and absolutely nothing else. That was it. We didn't learn anything about anything. Everything I learned about sex, I learned from pornography, and then once I became, an adult, able to think. I read the Black Book of the Female Orgasm, which any man who is interested in women or any trans person who is interested in women would do well to read, because you're not going to learn that anywhere else.
Yeah, I don't think in elementary school they ever covered that with the boys. That was a subject that they took the girls out of the room and they covered it with the girls, but not the boys.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was some rudimentary stuff that was discussed with the boys, like, oh, I don't know, once a month women they get angry or something, and that was basically the extent of it. And no, I mean,
you're
that's
not wrong.
That's no, it's true. But I mean, that was the extent of it. There was nobody went into the details, right? I mean, I'm trying to think, maybe in like middle school they got into some more of the details, but honestly, I think it was mostly like show a video on like pregnancy or something. And that was the extent of it. Like, I don't even think they really talked about, periods or anything like that. It's certainly not amongst, boys having periods. But, it's kind of funny because, before I read this article, all I was thinking was, your moms are
just upset. They're probably all on their periods or something.
Mr. Garrison, Wendy and I think that was a sexist statement.
Well, I'm sorry, Wendy, but I just don't trust anything that bleeds for 5 days and doesn't die.
I love South Park. It's such a rich source of absurd statements.
Yeah, I mean, this article sounded kind of absurd to me, like just having read the title. And at the same time,
I don't want public schools teaching sex education to students. I mean, it's not their job. I'm not really sure that they should have a job in the first place. So, I mean, I think that's here nor there. But no, like, I mean, the first thing I was thinking of is I certainly know a guy who certainly has a period, but not in the way that this article is describing. To be fair,
there are men who have certain elements of.
Well, to be fair, everyone, regardless of their sex, experiences hormonal fluctuations.
Right. Exactly.
Men and women alike.
And that's what I think of when I think of periods.
It's not what I think of when I think of periods. I think of the female menstrual cycle.
Right. I don't think of that because that's not really what has. I mean, I get it. Obviously, I'm old enough. I figured it out by this point in my life without anybody explaining it to me. But I still think of that, elementary school like explanation when I think of periods and my interaction with women.
Get mad every once in a while.
My interaction with women over the years. You just know there's some days you just keep your mouth shut, and that's as a man,
I've
that's
never
my
gone
experience.
Through that. As a person who has spent a lot of time with women, I've never gone through that because if I'm going to spend that much time with a woman, I'm going to need her to be on birth control, which really helps lower the symptoms of periods. And not that I'll smack a bitch or anything like that, but I will mouth right back off. You're not just going to stand there yelling at me because I didn't get you the right kind of chocolate or whatever. I will leave. You have fun. Call me when you're not going crazy. So to me, it's a voluntary interaction in which I want no part.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the best response to that situation is to keep your mouth shut, walk away.
But see,
because there's nothing you can do about it, and there's nothing you can say that'll help.
But see, that's still so rare for me. I'm not familiar with many women who are that extreme.
Oh yeah,
I'm not saying they don't exist. I just don't think
they're out there, and there are men who are just as bad.
Are there?
There are men who are just as bad. Yeah.
I'm not surprised. So you have no issue with the whole trans women have periods too thing, because I mean technically by your standards of hormonal fluctuations, everyone does indeed have a period.
I don't. I mean, look, I don't. Obviously, the guys are not gonna. Well, I mean, okay, the trans guys. I honestly don't know what happens with trans, so I'm not really sure what happens like as far as bleeding and everything else, but. Certainly,
that doesn't happen.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, so certainly, they don't have the full.
Yeah, they don't have a menstrual cycle.
Right, exactly.
Well, I would agree, especially if we're separating menstrual cycle from periods. But historically, I understand period to mean menstrual cycle.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Did you know you can listen to LRN.FM via our free-to-air satellite channels? We have channels over nearly all of North America and much of Africa. All you need is an affordable receiver and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you are a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage maps and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm. sat.lrn.fm.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
This is Angel Clark, and you're listening to The Call to Freedom on LRN.FM.
I actually went out. But it definitely fully covered the grass. Almost.
All right, welcome back to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM, broadcasting live from the Horizon.global studio. Here having a discussion about periods, everyone's favorite subject, and the general impression of Chris regarding periods that, you know, it's basically when a chick just gets pissed off for no reason for a couple of days out of each month, which I can't really argue with, but I've never seen it to the extent that he describes. You're not. Oh, you are because you're on 2.
Yeah.
Sorry. Figures.
Yeah. That's. I mean, that's been my perspective of it. But you know, I'm sure different. Well, I know different. I mean, no, women are not all the same, obviously. So there's different levels of. I think there's actually a name for it when they're really, really. You know, bad, so to speak, the periods.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called, but I'm familiar with it.
No matter who it is, the point is that everyone else got their period and this person hasn't.
Look, Stan, do you really know what a period is?
Yeah, Cartman told us.
Stan, let me sing you a little song about the menstrual cycle. I think it might clear things up for you.
Okay.
Ooh, baby, yeah, baby, ooh, baby. Yeah, baby, now, baby. Ooh, yes, yes, baby. Yeah, baby. No, baby. You, baby, no. No, I'm all right. I'm cool. It's okay. Watch out for the bedspread, baby. Look out now. I'll tell you what. How about, why don't I call you next week?
I've been there. I don't know about getting yelled at, but I have been there. So anyway, the article goes on.
Yeah, period products are provided for all pupils and students who need them, and this provision is promoted and known about by all. The guidance reads, with the express intention of reducing the stigma and shame related to periods.
I'm curious then whether they provide period supplies to the trans women who think they get a menstrual cycle or who think they get a period and don't. Because, I mean, yeah, if you're a trans woman, such as myself, you shouldn't be getting a period at all of any description. You shouldn't be experiencing hormonal fluctuations. You should be taking your hormones from an external source like estradiol and spironolactone and things like that at regular predicted intervals. But a lot of these trans chicks do give themselves periods. They'll stop taking their estrogen for 4 days out of each month or whatever, and that's bad. They're not supposed. Any endocrinologist will tell them not to do that, but they don't want to hear it because they want to be able to say that they have a period, because it's got that whole persecuted aspect to it that so many people want.
There's different levels. Some women have almost no period, or well, however you wanted to. Yeah, I don't know what the best words to describe it, but yeah, I mean it's very minimal, and others are much more severe. So like it seems kind of to I don't know. I mean maybe I don't know what minimal means either necessarily, but it seems like that would be a bad action to take if you were in control to some degree of that situation.
Oh, it's terrible.
Not that I really know anything about that.
Well, I do, and it's one of the reasons.
Yeah, you're obviously going to be more knowledgeable about that.
When they're on Facebook and Twitter going, trans women get periods too. Yeah, if you give yourself one, but you're not supposed to do that, you moron. This isn't birth control. You can't get pregnant here. You have these pills that you can take at predictive intervals every day, and no hormonal cycle.
The advice also advocates the placement of red boxes in all age-relevant bathrooms at a cost of $4,580. Okay, so interesting. This appears to be. So they're actually quoting, I think, is that British pounds? It might be British pounds. So I think this actually must be out of the UK, the story, which would provide free sanitary products to students in need with the aim of diminishing so-called period poverty. Interesting. So that means they're going to be doing it in both boys and girls' bathrooms?
It does sound that way. They said all age-relevant bathrooms.
So, I kind of have to, I still am kind of wondering what that means. Like
putting tampons in a boys' room is asking for sepsis.
Trouble. Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. And they're talking about 8-year-olds here. So, I mean, 8-year-olds. So, I mean,
does anyone get their menstrual cycle at the age of 8?
Girls do, yeah.
Really? At 8?
Yeah, and it's going down.
Wow.
Like it's in a downward direction because of all
we turned fish trans by flushing birth control down the toilet and things like that.
It's all the hormones and shit that are going on.
It's all right, I got it.
Yeah, it's
all the hormones and stuff.
It's all the hormones that are going into the food products, from what I understand, that's driving the age down. I don't really know anything more about it than that, but yeah.
I would believe it. And it sounded nuts when you had Alex Jones talking about how we were turning the frogs gay. And, we may or may not be turning the frogs gay, but we do have scientific evidence that we are, in fact, turning the fish trans.
I mean, yeah, the only problem with, like, the argument that I don't know. I mean, it's kind of the question is, let's go back to that gay comment for a second. So
Yeah, I don't think you can turn anything or anyone gay. I don't think it's dependent upon hormones and things like that.
I don't necessarily know, about that, whether it is or isn't, but certainly what I do know is that this is not like a new thing, right? I mean, sexuality has been around, and there's been a diverse sexual interests.
Oh, one of the closest related apes to us is the bonobo, and they'll bang anything.
Yeah, I mean, for probably hundreds of thousands of years. I mean, the idea that like there's just now becoming like gay people or something is just nonsense. Is ridiculous. Now,
well, he was referring specifically to frogs. I don't think he ever accused the government of making people gay.
Maybe,
but there are people who do think that there are gay bombs and things like that.
Maybe. I mean, there could be. I don't want to say there is or isn't, because I don't know, but like I could conceive that there is some sort of chemical or whatnot that's getting out there that's increasing or affecting, sexuality, whether or not it's something that has to happen, at a certain point during, the birth process, or if it's something that happens. I doubt it's something that happens like later, but I mean, I don't know, maybe growing up or something, I could see that maybe. I don't, who knows really where sexuality comes from.
I don't think it's chemical. I don't. Just going off of gut reaction, because I'm not a biologist or a chemist. I just don't think it's chemical.
It seems unlikely to me too. Seems more likely to be genetic, or
it is at least partially genetic. We know, because I mean, like my mother was bisexual.
Yeah, I mean, but I can also see like, I don't know.
But to me, it's kind of a nature versus nurture argument, and it's kind of irrelevant. I mean, people are people. Leave them alone. They're not hurting anyone. Who cares if they're gay, straight, bisexual, transgender, queer, or whatever?
Yep. Totally agree with you.
I don't need to explain to people why I'm trans. I guess at the end of the day is what I'm getting at. And
have you really had people like to explain to people? Like, that just seems like so weird.
Not strictly speaking, but like, when I'm dealing with people on the alt-right or something like that, they make certain assumptions about me that I end up having to refute, because they assume those things about all trans people. Like, oh, well, you're trans because, like one of our listeners, Dunker, who accused me of being trans because my mother was murdered. And I'm trying to replace her, like the movie Psycho, right? Yeah, he really crossed the line with that one. A lot of people called him out on it. And then he denied, I wasn't talking about Aria. Yeah. Yeah, because we all know a bunch of trans people whose parents were murdered, right?
Did he know your?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, he listens to the show, and that's not something I hesitate to mention when it's relevant.
I don't think I knew that, actually. So
I don't just go around shouting it.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I also don't listen. Well,
I don't listen to the show either.
Yeah, I was going to say Call to Freedom. I guess Call to Freedom. I don't know if I've ever listened to Call to Freedom.
Sorry about that.
Yikes.
I did not realize that I left it on full volume from when we were coming. Oh, I was playing South Park, that's why. Well, we're going out to break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with the crypto news here in just a few minutes. There's lots of interesting things, including Atari partnering with someone to bring games like Roller Coaster Tycoon to the blockchain.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
More of the Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Tuesday, December 18th, 2018. Silver is trading at $14.65 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,249 per ounce. Zen is trading at $5, and the average price of Bitcoin is $3,539. Antiwar.com reports, speaking on Monday, U.S. Special Envoy James Jeffrey confirmed that the U.S. is no longer demanding regime change in Syria and is not actively trying to force Syrian President Bashar Assad from office. That said, the American goal is a regime that is fundamentally different, even if it includes Assad. Jeffrey said Assad must accept such a compromise because he has not yet won the Syrian war. The U.S. has long demanded regime change as part of the end to the Syrian war, and even in staying in Syria militarily, officials have conditioned leaving on a successful transition and insisted that Assad could not be involved. Now there's resignation that Assad will stay, but Jeffrey says the U.S. and its allies are prepared to withhold any aid to reconstruct Syria unless there is some assurance that the changes they are demanding are implemented. Zencash has changed their name to Horizon to better represent their transition from a cryptocurrency to a pioneering platform that protects consumer data. They're working towards the day when anyone will be able to build privacy-based applications on the Horizon platform and generate income from them. This will allow Horizon to bring thousands of real-life services to the community. Services that provide freedom, utility, and privacy. HORIZEN.global. UPI reports nearly 3 in 10 Americans are delaying healthcare treatments because of their cost, according to a new Gallup survey released on Monday. Gallup's annual health and healthcare survey found 29% postponed treatments for the cost. It said more than half of them reported a serious or somewhat serious medical illness or condition, a figure equivalent to 19% of all U.S. adults. The share of Americans who delayed treatment is consistent with data in recent polls. In 1991, 22% of respondents put off medical treatment, and an average of 24% delayed care between 2001 and 2004. The current rate of 29% has remained steady in years since. Delayed treatment depends on available health insurance, another consistent finding. Gallup found that those with no coverage are more likely to forego treatment, with over half of the respondents in that category reporting a delay. The report found those enrolled in Medicare or Medicaid are least likely to wait. The poll results said Americans with health insurance are still often responsible for deductibles, co-payments, and other out-of-pocket costs. While it reduces demand for healthcare services, it can prevent many people from initiating treatment for medical conditions. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports a woman who climbed the Statue of Liberty stone pedestal to protest U.S. immigration policy declared in federal court on Monday she would do it again to call attention to the plight of families separated at the border and was found guilty of trespassing. Therese Patricia Okamo was also convicted of interfering with governmental administration and disorderly conduct before a U.S. magistrate judge in New York City. Each misdemeanor carries a maximum sentence of 6 months in jail, according to Nicholas Biasi, a spokesman for the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York. Okomo, a native of the Democratic Republic of Congo, who the New York Daily News said became a U.S. citizen in 2016, remains free pending her sentencing on March 5th. In a statement announcing the guilty verdict, U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman said Okomo's actions went well beyond peaceable protest. Berman said it was a crime that put people at grave risk, calling her conduct dangerous and reckless. Okomo was arrested on July 4th after she scaled the base of the statue, and after not complying with police for 3 hours, police evacuated the landmark in the midst of the U.S. Independence Day holiday. She and her lawyer later said her act of civil disobedience was primarily a demonstration against the Trump administration's policy of separating migrant children from parents who were caught crossing the U.S. border illegally. Administration officials said the policy was needed to secure the border, but it was ended in June after images of separated youngsters held in cage-like detention facilities sparked a furor both at home and abroad. Testifying in her own defense on Monday, Okomo was asked by her attorney, Ron Kuby, whether she would repeat her protest under the same circumstances. She answered yes, adding, "As long as our children are being placed in cages, my moral values call for me to do something about it." This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
Sources at the video streaming service Netflix reported today that they had sent local man Shane Fowler a personal message earlier just checking to see if everything was okay after the 31-year-old watched an entire season of the FX program Sons of Anarchy in a single viewing session.
Well, we happened to notice that Shane had been sitting in front of his laptop and had burned through all 13 episodes of the first season of Sons of Anarchy. So we thought maybe we could send him a note and just sort of make sure he was doing all right, or if he needed someone to talk to or something.
Netflix says the message, which Fowler received minutes after he finished viewing the season 1 finale of the motorcycle gang drama, was just a way for the company to see if there was anything they could do for their longtime subscriber.
I mean, we do this stuff all the time. Just last year, Mike Ralston from Bartlesville, Oklahoma, watched all 4 seasons of The Tudors after his wife left him. We were there for him. We just like to check in on our customers from time to time.
This is the Onion News Network.
The Call to Freedom is an opinion show. It's meant for informational purposes only. It is not licensed financial advice. It is very important to do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with or independently research and verify any information that you hear from the Call of Freedom and wish to rely upon, whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. I mean, come on, guys. Duh. It's a cryptocurrency investment and a political talk radio. Of course, it's opinions.
Welcome back to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM, broadcasting as always from the Horizon Dog Global Studios. It is time for the Crypto Hour, brought to you by MotionProject.org. Now, Motion Project is essentially the Kickstarter in the cryptocurrency world, allowing you to fund and facilitate projects that you approve of and would like to see come to fruition, allowing the creators to add milestones and things like that, and allowing for a fair number of checks and balances built directly into the system to ensure that the people who are creating these projects are actually creating these projects in a way that they are supposed to be. Always good. But moving on to the crypto and tech gaming news. Did you bring in anything?
I did. Shall we? So court wants something more than IP addresses to catch pirates. So we actually got some good news out of the piracy world.
Awesome.
Or the privacy world. Maybe it's a better way to phrase it.
Well, let's hear it.
So while it's not getting it, it's not. Let me start. So this is from Torrid Freak. While it's not making big headlines in the mainstream media, U.S. courts are still loaded with BitTorrent-related lawsuits. The cases are filed by a small group of copyright holders. To state their claim, these companies generally rely on IP addresses as evidence. These IP addresses detail details are collected from BitTorrent swarms and linked to geographical locations using geolocation tools. With this information in hand, rights holders asked the courts to grant a subpoena, forcing internet providers to hand over the personal details of the associated account holder. The process isn't new, and the same tactics have been used for years. While some federal judges have raised doubts about the accuracy and sufficiency of IP address evidence, many others let these cases continue. In recent weeks, however, more and more judges have begun to ask questions. This started after a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals reached a verdict in Cobbler, Nevada versus Gonzales, I think. The court ruled that identifying the registered subscriber of an IP address by itself is not enough to argue that this person is also the infringer. So,
that's
obviously,
great news.
But that's absolutely great news.
Yeah, because, I mean, especially mobile networks, people torrenting from those, you may end up with a shared IP address or something along those lines. It's very rare, and I don't think it actually happens.
There are entire
often, but
countries that are on a single IP address.
Are there?
Yes.
I was not aware of that. I figured they would often be in the same subnets or the same subnet ranges.
Well, as far as at least a public IP address, yeah, they've all got a single IP address.
Because they've only got the one ISP.
They go through a proxy.
Oh.
And if you remember back in the day, AOL, and maybe even still, everything went through a proxy. I don't know how that worked, so maybe it wasn't the way I'm thinking of it. But yeah, I mean, if you have a proxy server and it's got an IP address, which is the case of a lot of businesses and schools and things like that, you don't know which user at the other end is, or where they're coming from even necessarily. Plus there's VPNs and all sorts of other technologies that potentially, means that the supposed infringer isn't even where you think they are. They may not even be in the area that has been identified as the general location of that IP address, because it's a network, right? So there's multiple points in which data goes through to get from any point to any other point. And sometimes those endpoints that appear to be the endpoints to you are not the endpoints in reality. They get forwarded. That traffic gets forwarded on to somebody else somewhere else. And it can be anywhere in the world, potentially.
Well, that's why the Pirate Bay puts a banner on their website telling people to use a VPN before downloading anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that way it looks like you're coming from Iceland or wherever.
Yep, places that have stronger, protections, privacy protections.
Yep.
Because multiple devices and individuals may be able to connect via an IP address, simply identifying the IP subscriber solves only part of the puzzle. A plaintiff must allege something more to create reasonable inference that a subscriber is also an infringer, the verdict read. Yeah, obviously. I mean, unless you have evidence that the person who subscribes to the internet connection is the one who took part, and most of the time these people don't even know that there was anything actually infringed. They've accused printers of infringing in some cases even, because they're getting an IP address, and the IP address isn't enough to determine who was or wasn't connected to the swarm necessarily.
Well, one thing that alarms me about this entire fiasco is that companies can essentially allege whatever they want is copyright infringement.
They can.
And then it becomes a matter of attempting to prove that what you wanted, that what you were doing was not copyright infringement. Like me, when I got in trouble with Spectrum for downloading Project M, which is a mod for Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Nintendo was like, no, that's copyright infringement. And that's what they told Spectrum. And I was like, well, I can't prove otherwise. And they have an attorney who could write, a 50,000-page document about how it totally is. So, I mean, I'm just kind of at the mercy there of these companies who have absolutely no restraint.
Yeah, and the things that you would not necessarily consider copyright infringing, any kind of like rational logical argument, because of the way the law works and the way it's defined and things like that, can potentially be copyright infringement. Yeah. Or they consider it to be inducing copyright infringement or whatever. And it can be as little as having an advertisement that has music playing that you can't get on a particular service and you're advertising that service. So like I believe it was Kaza. No, was it Kaza? It might have been Kaza. Or maybe it was LimeWire. No, I think it was Kaza.
Kaza.
I think it was
heard
Kaza.
about Kaza in such a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that was Kaza who got taken down, not because they were doing anything illegal, so to speak, but because they considered that advertisement to be inducing, because the songs at one point or video or whatever that was in playing, they should have known was not legally available on the network, even though they didn't do the distribution of that work or anything of that matter. Yeah. I mean, who knows if it was even available on the network? Just the fact that they showed something that they should have otherwise known because it was a significant work, I guess, is enough for the government to say that's copyright infringement. And it's absolutely ridiculous. But and there's also been arguments and I think convictions for things like modifying a program or writing a program and distributing that program, presumably, that modifies another work. So even though your work, the work that you produce, doesn't have any copyright infringing material within it, because it's somehow modifying the work, and you should somehow, and if it's how do I say this? If it actually is contributing to infringement, like a crack might be, okay, because there's DRM protection on it, that's clearly going to be, fall under, I think, copyright infringement.
Well, if you distribute it, I think it does.
Right.
But if you just write the crack for yourself, good luck.
Now the question is,
I don't think it does.
Yeah. Now the question is, does that extend to mods, as we were talking about? And the argument has been that it does. I'm not 100% positive, though, on the mod case that there's been a conviction in a court of law. But I think there have been settlements or conclusions. So, whatever that means necessarily. But yeah.
Well, the state is going to essentially do what it wants.
Right.
And if the IP holders have the money, they're going to pay.
It's going to go in that direction, too, because they have the money.
I mean, the solution here is to abolish intellectual property.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Well, we'll be back with more of this discussion, so stay tuned.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
We've all heard about blockchain assets like Dogecoin, Ether, and Ripple. Bitcoin isn't the only player in the blockchain game any longer. And for those of us wondering how to get our hands on these digital assets, finally, there's a solution. Shapeshift.io allows you to buy and sell between your digital assets and Bitcoin instantly between your own digital wallets. I've used it with ease. Shapeshift.io. There's no account or email address needed. You send them the crypto you want to sell. They send back the crypto you want to buy. It's that easy. Shapeshift.io.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Following several months of negotiations, representatives at the Minnesota State Museum confirmed today that they've extended their final offer to the anonymous owner of the couch from the hit 1970s sitcom The Mary Tyler Moore Show.
We hope an agreement can be reached soon because after months of back and forth, we just need a straight answer here.
Healy noted that the brown velvet artifact would be a welcome addition to its media wing, which boasts a robust collection, including several iconic Minnesota pieces.
We have the fence from Grumpy Old Men. We acquired the puck from the Mighty Ducks several months ago.
Healy and his team made their first bid in December of 2012 and have cycled through 5 rounds of negotiations, reportedly tripling their initial offer in an urgent attempt to secure the sale.
It's not every day that an artifact of this significance comes on the market and went... Oh my God, it's him. It's him, okay? Hello, sir. What would you say if I went up another 2?
This is the Onion News Network.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
You're listening to The Call to Freedom on LRN.FM.
تستمتعون إلى برنامج نداء للحرية مباشرة على LRN.FM.
All right, welcome back to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. It is the Crypto Hour brought to you by MotionProject.org, and we're going to move on into cryptocurrency news because there are some interesting things to actually discuss today, which is rare for the last few months. Apparently, however, a Chinese government-controlled Bitcoin alternative is reportedly in the works. Now, this is no surprise whatsoever, considering their social credit system that they've now imposed.
Oh, yeah.
So, of course, they would want a cryptocurrency, a digital currency to which they could tie that and prevent people from getting food or being able to use any sort of money if they displease the Chinese government. Oh, it's a mess over there. In the midst of a Sino-U.S. trade war, I think that's a bit hyperbolic. The People's Bank of China is working to develop its own cryptocurrency prototype. It apparently believes the centralized digital asset can ultimately trump Bitcoin and perhaps even the US dollar.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. The government of China has been infamously hostile towards cryptocurrency-related economic activities like crypto trading, mining, peer-to-peer loans, and ICOs. But this doesn't mean that the Chinese government disapproves of the underlying idea. Well, of course they don't. A centralized digital currency that they control and they can, activate and deactivate your accounts with the flick of a switch? Why wouldn't they love that? Although Xi Jinping's administration, which I almost certainly did not pronounce correctly, bite me, has done much to kill the domestic cryptocurrency market, it's currently at work developing its own secure blockchain-based digital cryptocurrency. Reports reveal that the People's Bank of China has registered 78 digital currency patents, of which 44 are blockchain-related since at least 2016, ranking the PBOC as the 5th most prolific patenter in the space, as has been reported by China's IPR Daily. Further, the People's Bank of China has been actively hiring developers and economic specialists for its Beijing-based Digital Currency Institute, whose stated goal is to issue and distribute a blockchain-based currency.
I find this interesting that they're trying to develop another cryptocurrency because there's still some fundamentals that have not really been worked out, from what I understand anyway, in terms of scalability. And for a country to try and get on board seems just kind of like way too soon until those problems are solved, unless they're working on solving those problems.
Yeah. Well, the scalability issue with Bitcoin is one related to early attempts to prevent DDoS attacks. They wanted to make them prohibitively expensive, so they required a minimum blocks or a maximum block size. I don't recall now. I think it was a minimum actually. And the goal was to make it prohibitively expensive for people to launch DDoS attacks on the Bitcoin network. And as a result, we have these block size definitions now, which creates a bottleneck of how many transactions can fit into a given block and how many transactions a miner can process at a given time, instead of allowing free market mechanisms such as processing power to determine how many transactions are being processed. It benefits the miners and screws over the actual users of the cryptocurrency. They may not have that problem. They probably will, because they don't care and they probably don't see it as a problem. But proof of stake also does not have that exact problem. And I could see a central bank preferring proof of stake as a mechanism for using its coin. Actually, no, let me back that up. I don't. I could see them being okay with it if they were the only ones receiving the stakes. But I don't see them being okay with people getting the cryptocurrency, holding it, and having it produce stakes for them. To me, they want to control the inflation, so maybe they would be the only ones with the miners. But moving on.
Why would they even need miners, though, at that point? If it's centralized, what's the point?
Good point. The project was originally conceived by the People's Bank of China's deputy governor, not going to attempt it, with the intention of protecting China from Bitcoin as an asset it couldn't control. In contrast with the decentralized digital currencies we know and love, the People's Bank of China's alternative could, in fact, allow the Chinese government to exert even greater control over the lives of this country's citizens. Well, yeah, that's the point. That's why they're doing it. I mean, weren't we discussing it last week? The whole, you get a chip and then you can have it activated and deactivated at a moment's notice. I mean, that's not
chip.
Yeah. Well, yeah, ideally.
Are you talking about like tracking chips that implanted in the hand?
Yeah, but it would also ideally control economic matters. Like it would have your cryptocurrency address embedded in it. You scan it and it automatically sends and receives from you, which, sounds so convenient until we really think about the fact that, okay.
Seems irrelevant at this point to me, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, it does, because it's not like it's hard to whip out. I paid Dash for this tobacco I bought earlier. It was instant. It was super convenient. And I only did it. I didn't want to spend my Dash, but I totally forgot all of my cash at home, and I was like...
Was this at Corner News or another?
It was.
Okay, cool.
It was. They're the only place that accepts crypto, at which I can buy tobacco.
There's another place in Keene that also, I believe, sells tobacco and such products.
Well, I like Roberta, so I would stick with Corner News anyway.
Yeah, there's two places, actually. So
she's snarky. I like her little sell that she's having about the end of freedom.
Oh, yes. That's pretty entertaining.
For those who are unaware, the city of Keene has passed a new ordinance mandating that you cannot sell or provide tobacco or nicotine-based products to anyone under the age of 21. And the Corner News, I don't know what her political leanings are, but she certainly seems to lean toward libertarian philosophy. They accept cryptocurrency, and it's the Corner News, and they're having a 20% off sale for anyone between the ages of 18 and 21. Of course, this will end on January the 1st when the actual ordinance goes into effect. But that's okay, because on January the 3rd, I will be out in front of the city council building giving away cigarettes to anyone, no ID required.
I like it.
Because the only penalty for this is like a $50 fine for the first offense. There's no risk of jail time or anything. Cops are just going to show up, issue me a citation. I'm going to keep doing it. And it should be great.
No, I wonder if they'll issue you another citation when you keep doing it, or if they'll just let it go at one, or how. I wonder how that will work.
I'm curious as well to find out how that will work. I think it's going to be interesting, and I think it could actually lead to my arrest, because I think if you're doing something illegal and they ticket you and you refuse to stop doing that illegal thing, I think at that point it becomes some other offense. Wouldn't you think?
I'm not sure. Certainly,
I need to ask.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippie! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more.
Phone records, financial and location data, Prism, Tempora, X-Keyscore, Boundless Informant. Hey y'all, Scott Horton here for offnow.org. Now here's the deal. Due to the Snowden revelations, we have a great opportunity for a short period of time to get some real rollback of the national surveillance state. Now they're already trying to tire us by introducing fake reforms in the Congress. And the courts, they betrayed their sworn oaths to the Constitution and Bill of Rights again and again, and can in no way be trusted to stop the abuses for us. We've got to do it ourselves. How? We nullify it at the state level. It's still not easy, but the Off Now project of the 10th Amendment Center has gotten off to a great start. I mean it. There's real reason to be optimistic here. They've gotten their model legislation introduced all over the place, in state after state. I've lost count, more than a dozen. You're always wondering, yeah, but what can we do? Here's something important, something that can work if we do the work. Get started cutting off the NSA support in your state. Go to offnow.org.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
You are listening to The Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. आप सुन रहे हैं स्वतंत्रता की पुकार सिर्फ और सिर्फ LRN.FM पे।
right, welcome back to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. It is the Crypto Hour brought to you by motionproject.org. Again, that's motionproject.org, allowing the creation and facilitation of various projects of many different descriptions. So go check them out and see what's available for you to fund and help kickstart using cryptocurrency. Well, we've been discussing the Chinese government's attempt to, what's the word I'm looking for? Absolutely rule over their citizens. And it's actually worse than what we've even been discussing. The current deputy governor of the People's Bank of China, another name I won't attempt to pronounce, announced earlier this year that once implemented, the Chinese-controlled cryptocurrency would replace the country's fiat currency. I don't think they know what fiat means. And would ultimately help the bank curtail risks associated with money laundering and other crimes. So once again, I would like to point out to the world and to all economic people invested in currency and cryptocurrency that fiat means by decree. It does not mean paper. It does not mean government issued. Not strictly speaking. It usually is government issued, but that's not necessarily the case. It simply means that the government has said this is the currency of the realm. So the People's Bank of China releasing a cryptocurrency saying this is your currency, it would, by definition, be a fiat currency. It's essentially a state-granted monopoly over currency, and that's what it means. That's what the word fiat means. A lot of people seem to think it means paper.
Wouldn't that be more like hard currency? I think that's usually what people mean when they say hard currency.
When I think of hard currency, I would think of like gold coins.
Oh.
Gold and silver bullion.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't know. At any
or
rate,
hard fiat currency?
Yeah.
Maybe hard fiat currency.
At any rate, it's certainly not paper. Some of the patents filed by the People's Bank of China reveal what the Chinese government has in mind for the future. According to a Bloomberg review of recent patent filings, the government not only wants to track its citizens' everyday transactions, shocking, but aims to force banks to share all data related to potential borrowers before authorizing any type of transaction. Also, the People's Bank of China would immediately be able to prohibit any financial institution from dealing with blacklisted companies. And presumably, although the article doesn't specify, blacklisted citizens, those ones who have lost too much social credit from criticizing the Chinese government, or, just trying to be free individuals. Ideally, they would, not ideally, but I imagine that they would be blacklisted as well. It's a new way of manipulating and forcing and coercing their people into absolute unquestioning obedience. And I think that's the problem with socialism. That's the problem with statism. It's the problem with statist communism, whatever words you would like to use for it, fascism, bureaucratism, whatever we would like to call it. The problem is that if you have this entity that is able to control your life, then you're kind of at its mercy. If it can tell you, no, you can't travel, you can't buy food, you can't own a home, if you do any of these things, and it actually has the power to prevent you from doing those things, then you are a slave.
Yeah, it does. I was just about to say, it sounds to me like you're describing somebody who is a slave.
Yeah.
I wonder what the definition of slave is exactly. I mean, I would see that as being slavery.
Well, I would certainly say that we're slaves here in the United States.
I would agree too on that. But I mean, again, I would be curious as what is the word slave defined as? Is it something that is, is it defined more broadly, or is it defined more specifically? Because in different places, it probably is going to be defined differently. Like some people would call indentured servitude slavery, whereas other people wouldn't, because it's a contract that you're getting into with another party voluntarily, as opposed to slavery. I guess it's involuntary. I guess
I would say that involuntary is a critical aspect.
I think
of being a slave.
I think certainly where involuntary in terms of government because we don't really have a choice.
Well, I think a person who voluntarily submits to the authority, to the ruling of someone else, isn't a slave because they've made that conscious choice. And even if they've made that conscious choice to enter into the relationship in a way from which they can never escape, it would be unwise to do so. But by that point, they've sort of submitted to that person's authority of their own accord.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think the word slave would truly apply to them. But of course, there are competing definitions for the word slave. A person held in servitude as the chattel of another. It's not a word I've...
Chattel slavery?
Yeah, I guess so. I've never had to pronounce it before, so...
Yeah, I mean, there's different types of slavery.
One that is completely subservient to a dominating influence is the second definition.
That would definitely describe government and your position within society, all of our positions within society.
The third is one that we'll both enjoy. A device that is directly responsive to another, such as a printer of a computer. And that's it. That's all it gives us. That's Merriam-Webster.
That's kind of funny.
Not terribly, right?
That's actually been censored from certain places.
Really? But master and slave drives in particular is kind of critical terminology.
In like software now, like certain languages are like removing those words and they're changing things and deprecating those terms like when they're used within
They should call it dom and sub instead. Like, this is not the master drive and that's not the slave drive. This is the dominant drive.
It's absolutely insane.
That's the sub drive.
It's just going to make it harder or more convoluted for somebody to understand and learn to program.
Cambridge gives us alternative definitions. A person who is legally owned by someone else and has no personal freedom. Well, I like that definition because it involves pretty much every American citizen and every citizen here on the earth who is not part of the state apparatus. Because while we are not strictly speaking made to work for the United States government, the reality of our existence is that we have to produce. We have to acquire sustenance, which requires work. And I'm not bitching about that. I mean, that's just life. That's the universe. It's the way it works, right? You have to do something. No biggie. The part where it becomes slavery is where the government says, okay, well, you produce this thing, so we're going to take it.
Yeah.
So if you work, you do have to work for the federal government.
Yeah. I mean,
otherwise they're going to hit you with tax evasion.
When there's some sort of monopoly and you have no other choice, certainly, as at least the federal government is certainly the case, definitely it seems like it's slavery to me.
It definitely is. And I'm not a fan of any form of slavery. It's why I'm against the American prison system, because that's all we do.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a good example of slavery. It's the last remaining legal form of slavery in the United States, actually.
It is. And
it's actually in the Constitution that it's excluded from being you're excluded from, that's excluded as the only exception for slavery.
Yeah, and I'm surprised more people don't get on that. I mean, what did we do? We abolished slavery, and then we passed a bunch of laws that put black people in prison.
Didn't slavery come out of, actually, the prison system in the first place?
I have no idea.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
I just heard the best sales pitch I've heard in a long time on an airplane. The flight attendant announced, "If you paid more than $75 for your round-trip ticket, you overpaid." This is brilliant because everybody on the flight paid more, and I was struck by how all the road warriors stopped typing and reading and working and looked up. The announcement invited us to apply for the airline's credit card. And the sign-up bonus? Enough frequent flyer miles for a free round trip. Talk about turning lemons into lemonade. With some banks offering free credit cards, $75 is an outrage for an annual fee, but a bargain for airline tickets. For more tips on communicating more effectively, hit survivalspeech.com, where you can see how I got the CEO of another major airline to shower me with freebies. I'm Holland Cook.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
Catch the Call to Freedom at its new time, weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m. The Call to Freedom is the only live drive-home call-in show in the U.S. with a segment devoted to cryptocurrencies. Crypto Hour, brought to you by Helium.com, live from Vertcoin Studios in New Hampshire. Learn about what makes cryptocurrencies so great and why you should care about them. Updates on new coins and ICOs, and warnings of scams. Plus, hear from traders, whales, developers, and big names in the crypto world. You can also win crypto coins or tokens every episode. Just listen for the faucet sound and be the 5th caller to get free Dash, Litecoin, Vertcoin, Verge, or other cryptocurrencies. The Call to Freedom with Will and Aria, featuring Crypto Hour. Broadcast internationally through our BitPlus network satellite. Weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m. on LRN FM.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
You are listening to the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. Unasikiliza wito wa uhuru katika LRN.FM.
Welcome back to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM, broadcasting live from the Horizon.Global studio here in Keene, New Hampshire. And it is, of course, our Crypto Hour brought to you by motionproject.org. Again, that's motionproject.org. And we've actually been discussing China's upcoming cryptocurrency that they expect to replace fiat currency. And in addition to the many things we've discussed about the Chinese government that are particularly problematic for freedom lovers and the long-term prospects of the people of China, I mean, if we were ever going to liberate a country's people from its government, China would be the government that we needed to destroy. And I'm not a fan of any sort of interventionism, but we're not going to find a government oppressing and controlling its people in the way that the Chinese government does its own. You know, and there's that whole American idea that it's our duty to invade and bring freedom to people. And it's like, okay, have you seen China lately?
Definitely don't agree with that.
I don't either. But if we're going to have, I mean, and then there's France right now. There's Catalonia in Spain.
Yep.
Both of which.
How's that going anyway?
Badly.
Yeah.
I looked into it a few weeks ago because it's been a while.
Yeah.
You know, and I haven't been following it, so I wasn't really sure what was going on. But the politicians who headed up the
revolt,
are in exile or in prison. And the Spanish government is continuing its creed that it's not going to allow them to secede. Yeah, I mean, we've been there here in the United States. France had our backs then. It seems like, you know, we should at least put the offer out there. Like, hey, if you want some help, if you request this help, we will send in our soldiers and we will kick the Spanish government out for you.
The things, the economic systems of the day, I think, worked very differently, and it was in France's interests to help the United States revolt against Britain at the time.
Sure.
So it's not.
Well, Britain needed to be.
Unfortunately, in some sense, it's not like that anymore. So I don't necessarily know that there would be any incentive for another country to help with a revolt within it.
Well, Russia helped with us as well. They put out an order that anyone who interfered in our revolution, they would have to fight Russia. And that was all the way back in the 18th century.
I was unaware of Russia.
Yeah, they did. I don't remember what implications it had or whether anyone took it seriously or not, but they did at least say, hey, anyone who gets in the way of this, you're going to have to deal with us.
Interesting.
Yeah, and no one got in the way. But no one got in the way because it was, how could you get in the way of that, you know? It was kind of localized here to the United States.
It was.
I guess you could have gotten in the way of the British. I mean, that was the reason it was so much easier for us to revolt than it is for the...
Right, because it was a foreign power.
Yeah, they had to travel here across the Atlantic Ocean to get more soldiers here. And we didn't have to do that. If we really want to look at how to overthrow an oppressive state that doesn't have to travel, we would need to look to the French Revolution and how they, you know, executed King Louis.
So we should start executing the judges and the politicians and the lawyers.
Absolutely.
Well,
I would.
That would be certainly.
It's not good strategy.
An interesting approach.
But I don't see it as morally wrong if people were to do that.
Yeah, I certainly would say that would be an action of self-defense, considering that they're all oppressing. I mean, I won't say all lawyers, but there's a good percentage of them out there that are lawyers that are definitely oppressing.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, the career trajectory of lawyers seems to be to begin as a public defendant and cross over into prosecution, and then eventually become a judge or run for political office. Or in which case you could become a judge anyway, because those are generally elected positions, but not always. And then they become part of the oppressive system, writing the laws that they were just using to enforce upon the population.
Yeah.
So there definitely is an immoral streak among them. I would certainly agree. And, you know, I wouldn't mind... I would mind killing all of them because they're not all bad. They're not all horrible, but
I wouldn't want to make such a sweeping, statement to that effect.
Right.
I'm not sure I would have a sympathy for a single judge or prosecutor, but or cop, or maybe I would say I'll have some. Potentially, I could have some sympathy for some politicians, maybe, but potentially,
the Ron Paul types, maybe.
Most of them probably not. But I can certainly see it's a lot harder for me to have sympathy for a cop, because I mean they're you going into that position, you should know what your job is, and it's to obey orders and obey the. Basically do the bidding of government. So, and the government, you should know, is the law is not a moral thing; it's a legal thing. So
it's a fiat thing.
Right.
This is the decree. We don't really care if it's moral or not.
So before you go into it that you're going to be you're going to have to do stuff that is immoral.
Yep. And then they'll bring up the Nuremberg defense. I was just following orders. Yeah, so were the Nazis, dude.
Yep.
Sorry, but they were. And
Right.
that defense didn't work then either. Don't know
Right.
why you think you'll get a pass.
Yeah,
One day.
I mean,
when we
cops
try
are
you.
cops are nothing more than kidnappers, thieves, and
Thugs.
murderers.
They're thugs. I mean, yeah,
thugs.
That's what they do.
I actually have more sympathy, or more, what's the word? Sympathy is not the right word, but more respect, I would say, for, criminals and mafia types and people who steal than I would for a cop, any cops. I think,
would certainly agree, because cops think they have a larger attitude problem. I mean, no one joins the mafia and enforces, protection fees and things like that, thinking that they're doing the good of society.
Right. If somebody's gonna rob me, right, I would. They're not gonna go around saying, "Oh, they're doing it for my own good," right? I mean, that's just ridiculous. Whereas the cop is gonna lie to my face, and he's gonna tell lie after lie after lie, and it's like, wait a minute. Half of what you said that's all it was a lie and stuff that you made up. And then the other half was also a lie in that you're doing it for my own good.
Speaking of lies, right before I left Mississippi, like the week before I left Mississippi, I got pulled over by on the interstate by a state trooper. No, the freeway, whatever people call it up here. We call it the interstate where I'm from, who pulled me over because of a crack in my windshield, who said it was no longer acceptable under the new vehicle inspection requirements. Mississippi abolished its inspection sticker requirements in 2016. So he just pulled me over, right? And had absolutely no reason for doing it. And then just made up a law, pulled one straight out of his ass.
Oh, they do that all the time. They'll even charge you with non-existent laws or...
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Well,
man. I can't tell you how many times
me.
I've seen that.
But I did open up my console, and there was my 38, my loaded 38 sitting right there, because he wanted to see my ID and insurance, and that's where it was. So I open up my console, and there's just a loaded gun sitting there that I had totally forgotten about, right?
Oh, boy.
So I immediately slammed it shut and threw my hands into the air, because I know cops.
Yeah.
He sees me reaching for something with a gun, and he's going to shoot me.
Yep.
And if I had been black, he probably would have.
Oh, yeah.
Realistically. But I was like, okay, there's a gun in there. I have to reach in there to get the insurance card. Is that okay? He was like, yeah, that's fine. I was like, okay, that's right. We're in Mississippi. So you kind of expect me to have a gun. But, yeah, that was a mess. It was not a good day.
Yeah.
Getting pulled over for non-existent laws. I mean, he was looking for drugs, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure. They no, you know what they'll do is they'll write up, I'm not using the right words, but they'll write something up as to what you did, and then they'll find a law that like sort of matches it or something later. Or maybe it doesn't match it, but they'll find some law. But what frequently happens is they'll find a law that doesn't even that you never even broke. And that's what I've seen a lot of.
And I know at least in Mississippi, there's a lot of good old boy stuff going on. So the judge just kind of assumes you're guilty.
Oh, yeah, of course.
If you're there.
That's everywhere.
It is?
It's everywhere. I mean, certainly it's more corrupt in certain places than other places, but it's everywhere.
Well, I mean, I saw lawsuits there, civil lawsuits, where the plaintiff won by default, basically, simply because they were the plaintiff. They're the one who accused the other person of being wrong.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
More of the Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Tuesday, December 18th, 2018. Silver is trading at $14.65 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,249 per ounce. Zen is trading at $5, and the average price of Bitcoin is $3,539. Antiwar.com reports, speaking on Monday, U.S. Special Envoy James Jeffrey confirmed that the U.S. is no longer demanding regime change in Syria and is not actively trying to force Syrian President Bashar Assad from office. That said, the American goal is a regime that is fundamentally different, even if it includes Assad. Jeffrey said Assad must accept such a compromise because he has not yet won the Syrian war. The U.S. has long demanded regime change as part of the end to the Syrian war, and even in staying in Syria militarily, officials have conditioned leaving on a successful transition and insisted that Assad could not be involved. Now there's resignation that Assad will stay, but Jeffrey says the U.S. and its allies are prepared to withhold any aid to reconstruct Syria unless there is some assurance that the changes they are demanding are implemented. Zencash has changed their name to Horizon to better represent their transition from a cryptocurrency to a pioneering platform that protects consumer data. They're working towards the day when anyone will be able to build privacy-based applications on the Horizon platform and generate income from them. This will allow Horizon to bring thousands of real-life services to the community. Services that provide freedom, utility, and privacy. HORIZEN.global. UPI reports nearly 3 in 10 Americans are delaying healthcare treatments because of their cost, according to a new Gallup survey released on Monday. Gallup's annual Health and Healthcare Survey found 29% postponed treatments for the cost. It said more than half of them reported a serious or somewhat serious medical illness or condition, a figure equivalent to 19% of all U.S. adults. The share of Americans who delayed treatment is consistent with data in recent polls. In 1991, 22% of respondents put off medical treatment, and an average of 24% delayed care between 2001 and 2004. The current rate of 29% has remained steady in years since. Delayed treatment depends on available health insurance, another consistent finding. Gallup found that those with no coverage are more likely to forego treatment, with over half of the respondents in that category reporting a delay. The report found those enrolled in Medicare or Medicaid are least likely to wait. The poll results said Americans with health insurance are still often responsible for deductibles, co-payments, and other out-of-pocket costs. While it reduces demand for healthcare services, it can prevent many people from initiating treatment for medical conditions. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports a woman who climbed the Statue of Liberty's stone pedestal to protest U.S. immigration policy declared in federal court on Monday she would do it again to call attention to the plight of families separated at the border and was found guilty of trespassing. Therese Patricia Okamo was also convicted of interfering with governmental administration and disorderly conduct before a U.S. magistrate judge in New York City. Each misdemeanor carries a maximum sentence of 6 months in jail, according to Nicholas Biasi, a spokesman for the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York. back. Okomo, a native of the Democratic Republic of Congo, who the New York Daily News said became a U.S. citizen in 2016, remains free pending her sentencing on March 5th. In a statement announcing the guilty verdict, U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman said Okomo's actions went well beyond peaceable protest. Berman said it was a crime that put people at grave risk, calling her conduct dangerous and reckless. Okomo was arrested on July 4th after she scaled the base of the statue, and after not complying with police for 3 hours, police evacuated the landmark in the midst of the U.S. Independence Day holiday. She and her lawyer later said her act of civil disobedience was primarily a demonstration against the Trump administration's policy of separating migrant children from parents who were caught crossing the U.S. border illegally. Administration officials said the policy was needed to secure the border, but it was ended in June after images of separated youngsters held in cage-like detention facilities sparked a furor both at home and abroad. Testifying in her own defense on Monday, Okomo was asked by her attorney, Ron Kuby, whether she would repeat her protest under the same circumstances. She answered yes, adding, "As long as our children are being placed in cages, my moral values call for me to do something about it." This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
This is the Onion Week in Review. A month after the death of leader Kim Jong-il, North Korea's 24.5 million citizens have returned to their regular daily routines this week, holding a festive synchronized disco jump rope gala in Pyongyang's main public square. Life in the hermetic communist nation is reportedly beginning to normalize following the protracted mourning period, with citizens once again donning their brightly colored uniforms and performing intricate gymnastics routines in perfect unison.
It is an inspiring sight to see so many loyal citizens find the strength to unfurl their long silken streamers and do dozens of tandem backflips set to dance music.
Observers reported that new North Korean leader Kim Jong-un nodded once in approval of the disco jump rope gala, signaling an official transfer of power.
A recent study from the Centers for Disease Control finds that over 100 million children are being exposed to harmful levels of stupidity in their own homes. Hear the debate about secondhand ignorance on the next In the Know.
This is the Onion News Network.
You are listening to the Call to Freedom live on LRN.FM. تستمعون إلى نداء للحرية مباشرة على LRN.FM.
Welcome back to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM, broadcasting live from the Horizon.Global studio here in beautiful Keene, New Hampshire, beautiful and cold Keene, New Hampshire. There's interesting things going on. We've been having a bit of a discussion about it. Bitcoin bomb threats. Evidently, one of the businesses here in Keene received one. Now, for those unfamiliar, it's been cropping up recently. In Hong Kong, the United States, and Canada. So, of course, it would happen here in Keene, where lots of businesses take Bitcoin. It's an extortion scheme similar to ransomware, except it ups the stakes considerably.
It does.
And that's why I want to discuss it, because we're moving toward the Internet of Things, where it's going to be so much worse than this, because ransomware is possible, and it's relatively easy compared to what these people are talking about doing, but which apparently appear to just be empty threats. But
I kind of suspect most bomb threats are empty threats, and there's no backing to them whatsoever. And I'm always amazed that we treat every bomb threat as if the world is ending, when almost always it's not legit, and there's no reason to believe it's legit.
Well, yeah, but what would you do If you got an email saying, "Hey, I planted a bomb at your house,"
I think it's honestly, I think it's better to ignore them than to respond, because then you just end up with more, more of the same.
So if you received an email saying that there was a bomb at your house and someone wanted 1 Bitcoin to defuse it,
that's just so ridiculous. Yes, I would ignore it. I would delete it.
Interesting. Well, an extortion scheme, but that's not what I.
They're
wanted
playing
to really
on your
get
fears,
into.
and it's got to be the case.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying you should pay it.
Almost every, unless you're like in Iraq or someplace that like there's an actual like war going on where it's actually happening, and even there, I would still probably ignore it, because I mean, what's the chance that somebody's going after me for some small amount of money like that?
Well, I mean, it depends on how desperate they are. Really. I mean, what's a small amount of money?
Talking about me skeptical. Talk to me. I'd just be skeptical for any amount of money. I'd be skeptical.
What you call a small amount of money isn't a small amount of money to everybody. A Bitcoin is life changing if you live in Ukraine or Siberia.
But I'd still be skeptical.
Well, I'm not saying don't be skeptical, and I'm not saying pay it, but I would certainly not just go, okay, delete. They're full of crap. That's not an assumption that I would be willing to make, I guess, is basically.
I would, because I mean the risk. You've got a greater risk of getting in a car accident. I'm very confident. All right, so I don't know what the statistics are, obviously, but we hear about them all the time. When was the last time you've actually heard about a bomb threat that was real and it actually went off?
The Boston Marathon.
Okay, once, and that was
the Oklahoma City bombing.
Twice in 20 years.
September 11th. I mean, it's not unheard of.
But they happen all the time.
Well, I mean, yeah, sure. Bomb threats relative to the number of bombs and explosive devices set off and things of that nature are certainly rare.
The Boston Marathon wasn't a bomb threat. They just set a bomb off.
I thought there was a threat involved.
I don't recall there being a threat.
I don't recall there
being
a threat either.
And the same thing with September 11th. They just blew some stuff up.
Well, there were warning signs to September 11th, though. I don't know if they were like, hey, we're going to bomb this building or not.
But there was nobody who came out and said, nobody made any kind of threat.
Okay.
Is what it came down to. And I think, actually, wasn't the Oklahoma bombing also the same way? There was like warning signs, but there was nobody came out and made any real threat of significance before it happened. Like, there was some threats, but it wasn't like specific or anything of that nature.
I'm not sure. And I'm certainly willing to see that regardless of, whether there were threats or not, the number of bombs actually detonated is substantially lower than the number of bomb threats that happen on any given time. I mean, schools receive bomb threats all the time, and they're always treated seriously, even though, to my knowledge, there has never been a school bombed in the United States.
Right, and this is why I just think it's so ridiculous to react the way that we do, because all we do is encourage.
But if we don't act that way, then we might end up with a lot of dead kids, and that's not a risk I'm willing to take.
I think it's a small risk, and it's not even.
Hold on, you're willing to take the risk of dead children?
Yes.
Ian, throw on a bumper music.
I'm sorry, but I don't feel the need to baby anybody. I think it's ridiculous. It's irrational. It's illogical, and it's stupid to treat every bomb threat, no matter whether or not there's any evidence that there's any actual threat as real, when it's very, 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 very rare.
Well, see, I'm not. School shootings are rare too, but I'm not going to just ignore it if the 13-year-old emo kid says he's bringing a gun the next day. I don't know why you would. I think that's immoral, and I think you need to seriously reflect on the fact that you just said you're okay with risking kids being bombed. I think you need to reflect on that, dude, because that's psychopathic.
No, it's not.
You should have more concern for the lives of kids than
that. I do if there was a legitimate threat, but there's not a legitimate threat in
You're
these situations.
assuming it's not a legitimate threat.
You
have to investigate it to find out whether or not it's a legitimate threat.
You said yourself that there's not been.
That doesn't mean it can't happen.
You're right, and
there's never been someone bombed because they didn't get paid in Bitcoin either, but it could happen.
There is a chance.
And you're willing to roll the dice on that.
I absolutely am, because
that's something you need to reflect on. We're talking about potentially dead children here.
And here's why. there are things that we need to reflect on that would be better, our time would be better spent and resources better spent reflecting on them than things that are not.
No, we're not talking about other people. We're talking about you and your willingness to roll the dice and allow children to be bombed to death.
I'm willing to roll the dice on myself too. It's not like I have this thing where I want to kill like little kids in school.
I'm not accusing you of wanting to kill little kids. Let's get all of that clear.
All right.
I'm certainly not accusing you of that. But that is a risk I don't think a person should be willing to take. And I realize that I'm asking you to come to my moral
somebody
standards.
else's right to make their own decision for themselves, is what you're saying?
No, I said you should reflect on it. I didn't say I was going to force you to take it seriously. You have the right to not take it seriously, but I think you
so
should
are you going to take
reflect on it.
money from me in order to have some cop go in and investigate something that's almost certainly not a real threat?
Did I say anything about robbing you? Did I say anything about getting the police involved?
True.
None of that is necessary. Why are you putting these words in my mouth?
Presumably, if there's some resources or effort that's going to go into it, somebody's going to have to pay for that, right?
Well, let's assume it's a private school.
Okay.
A totally private school.
I'm not saying you can't investigate. I just think if I was sending my kid to a private school, I hope the private school wouldn't bother to investigate because it's not worth the money that I'm spending to send my kid to a private school to investigate something like that. Now, if some kid, if there was some threat that somebody was going to shoot up the school, I think there's a better, it would make more sense to investigate something like that. But as far as a bomb threat, no.
What if instead of shooting up the school, the kid was like, okay, I'm going to research the anarchist cookbook and learn how to make a pipe bomb and set that off in the school?
Another thing I would pretty much ignore. Maybe if you had specifics, as in regards to, who sent it, the kid, etc., investigate, fine. But as far as like an anonymous bomb threat, no, I don't think it's worth the time and resources that, you're going to put into anything like that.
Well, it doesn't take much to look into.
No, I'm not saying it does. I just don't think,
threat.
no matter how little the resources are, I just don't think the math adds up. I think there's better things you could be spending time on than that.
I cannot possibly agree with that statement.
If you want to save lives, there's certainly got to be other things that you could put your resources into that would actually have a greater benefit and reduce the number of people.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Ovaltine. Give your kids the nutrition they need to be their best. Visit us at ovaltineusa.com. Telling your child about healthy food choices is important, but showing her what to eat goes a lot further. Have her help create the grocery list, then bring her to the store with you. Picking out healthy foods together helps kids get in the habit of thinking about what they're eating every day. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveitpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. saveitpurse.com.
Did you know you can listen to LRN.FM via our free-to-air satellite channels? We have channels over nearly all of North America and much of Africa. All you need is an affordable receiver and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you are a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage maps and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm. sat.lrn.fm.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Angel Clark, and you're listening to The Call to Freedom on LRN.fm.
All right, welcome back to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. We are broadcasting live from the Horizon.global studio and have been having a bit of a heated discussion about bomb threats and things of that nature. But we're joined now via phone by Rev, who I'm sure you're familiar with, joining us from, I think it was Florida. How are you doing today, Rev?
Hi, good, hon. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, so I wanted to call in yesterday, but I'm going to talk about what you're talking about now here, too. But about the whole police thing, I found that really interesting yesterday, and y'all briefly touched on it today.
Yeah, me and Melanie.
So basically, oh, I'm sorry. I'm outside. I hope it's not too noisy. Anyway, yeah, so basically my problem and why I think that cops are a-holes in general, even though some of them are much, much nicer, more reasonable people and officers than others, as I've told them to their faces, too, at different points in time, is that they basically have to, they're mandated, according to the oath they take for the state, to incarcerate people for victimless crimes much of the time, such as drug crimes and things of that nature that don't affect another person. So I just wanted to know you guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, honest people wouldn't become cops.
Yeah.
True.
or if they did, they wouldn't be cops long.
Yeah, good people don't go into that career path.
I remember I got into it once with a
on
friend.
A show with a co-host who ran for sheriff.
True.
Yeah.
Of course, you've actually threatened not to do what you're supposed to do under oath. So I think that's makes you a little bit unique in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are times that they give, a more lenient penalties, or they'll let you go depending on who it is, but that oath is that oath, and quite frankly, if they catch you with some cocaine or some shrooms or something like that, even if you did not kill a kid or hurt anybody for it, I mean, guess what? They got to take you away. But I'm just saying, I got into it one time when I was younger with a family friend that was an officer, and I said, you're a nice person, but, you have to be an a-hole to do your job sometimes. And they were kind of really butthurt about this and couldn't believe that I didn't have reverence for the office like you're for the position like you're a god. And it's like, no, you work for a state that's not too different from the Sturmfuhrer in a way. You imprison and help destroy the lives of people that don't objectively hurt other people. So maybe a little bit of that stupid libertarianism is still intact within me.
That's always good.
Yeah.
I mean, that is their job, is what they do. They're there to enforce the edicts of the states. Essentially, they are the local enforcement of the state's will, while the military is the foreign enforcement of the state's will. The only difference is who's being made what to do. I mean,
that's the same thing with the...
Unless you're in Mexico.
Well, that's the same thing with the military. Is a lot of really, really good people, in the military, and some of them do it just because, they want the pension and so forth eventually, and then some of them do it because they really believe in the country and wanting to help people. But either way, I don't see how you're different. You're much different than, like I said, a stormtrooper. If, like, you're going and invading other countries and stuff like that when they pose no immediate threat to us. So, yeah, I haven't gone full 1488 like a friend of ours, but I'm pretty close. But then real quick to what the gentleman in there who's saying, and it's interesting that you guys got like a little heated, but still in a civil way. This is pretty interesting stuff. It's good radio, as a buddy of ours would say. But so what are you saying? Correct me if I'm wrong, sir, but like, I think your position on this and why it might sound dumb to some people or just offensive to some people or whatever, but I don't think it's necessarily dumb or offensive, is I think you're really being as consistent as an anti-statist as you can be, it sounds like, in wanting to involve law enforcement in as little as possible. Am I correct in that assumption?
No, the math just doesn't add up. I mean, I don't even think it has to do with law enforcement at all. It's just not something that it makes sense from any rational, logical standpoint that I can come up with to investigate something that is not. There's no credibility to the threat, basically, and it's something that I think even like law enforcement would probably agree with me on, other than the fact that they actually have to like pretend to do their job in cases where there is a threat, because if they didn't, then obviously it would.
See,
look
that's
bad.
why I worry about you, Chris, because you say things like that, and for most people, this isn't going to be a matter of doing their job. It's going to be a matter of someone has threatened to kill these kids. We need to do what we can to ensure that doesn't happen. I would go,
but
and
there's
look for the bomb.
There's no
for free
credible threat.
It doesn't matter. Someone has made the threat against these children's lives. I would gladly go and search out for the bomb, free of charge.
It's a futile effort,
because I don't want to risk children
if you want to go after
killed.
If you want to go after the person who made the bomb threat, that might sort of somehow make some rational, logical sense, right?
But assuming we have no way to, because
to investigate something that was never planted in the first place is just
you have
dumb.
to
it's
investigate it to find out whether or not it was planted.
When that's almost
not
never happens.
That's not an assumption.
If there was some credibility,
I get that. I get that.
But there actually being a bomb, it makes sense to investigate a bomb. But there's no credibility to it. Why would you bother?
Let me explain why. Because once upon a time, there was no credibility to the threat of a school shooting. Once upon a time, there was no threat. There was no credible threat of the United States dropping a bomb on you.
If
there were all kinds of things that once upon a time,
and schools
but the first time they changed would be the death of children.
So
do you get
what?
that?
There's
so what?
So many people die
children have
every
been
single
bombed to
day.
death. What do you mean, so what?
So what? There are so many people who die every day, children incled, that those resources are better spent.
We're not talking
elsewhere.
about children dying, though. We're talking about children being murdered in a way that could have been prevented and avoided if we just took it seriously.
There's a cost to everything.
What is the cost of one dead child to you, Chris? How much is that worth? If even one child died, how much money would it take for you to be willing to spend those resources to prevent that child from being murdered? Answer that question.
I will.
Answer
the question. The resources to save one imaginary child.
One real child, because we're talking in the real world here. It's hypothetical,
not real.
sure.
It's imaginary. You're talking about saving imaginary children.
You just said you were willing to let the children be killed for the first time. So how much money is it worth for that dead child?
I still don't think that unless there's a credible threat.
Would you pay $10 to keep a child from being murdered?
If the $10 is going to save 10 children elsewhere, I would rather spend the $10 elsewhere and let that one child die.
But see, that's a false dichotomy. We're not talking either or here.
There's a limited resources no matter what you argue.
Are you going to send money to Iraq?
There's always going to be a limited resources.
Are you sending money to Iraq to keep children from dying of starvation and hunger and things like that?
Am I?
Yes.
I haven't, no.
Then let's just erase that entire thing from the discussion. My question to you is simple. You're willing to let the first bomb be set off because you're going to assume it's not real and it's therefore not a credible threat.
I'm not even saying one bomb.
How many children?
I would say I would let many bombs even potentially go off if they were not credible. Okay, and the money that was being spent on saving those potential children.
Once bombs start going off, they certainly become credible threats.
If it's a bomb threat from the same person and there's a real bomb that goes off,
you don't know it's the same person until you treat it as a credible threat and investigate it.
If there's reason
you don't get to
believe
skip that step.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
You're listening to The Call to Freedom on LRN.FM.
تستمتعون إلى برنامج نداء للحرية مباشرة على LRN.FM.
No! No!
welcome back to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM, broadcasting as always from the Horizon.global studio here in Keene, New Hampshire. Been having a bit of a discussion here about bomb threats. We were actually going to talk about Bitcoin bomb threats, but I don't think we're going to get to that. These are certainly not ones that I would assume are credible, but I don't know how I would react to it if I was in a position where I had to react to it.
They're taking advantage of your fear, so I don't let them do it.
Yeah.
That's my stance.
Well, I think you can react to something without being afraid of it.
Sure, don't disagree with you on that. I just don't think it makes sense to react to something if the money can be spent on actually saving real children as opposed to, trying to save imaginary children, essentially.
But you don't know whether or not it's going. Okay, we're back to children and bombing schools again. Okay, but you don't know that it's imaginary until you spend the money to investigate it. You're making that assumption, and the result could very well be dead children. And by your own admission, you're okay with that.
I think there's I think I'm okay with that because it's such a low risk in the real world right now today. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be true everywhere and for all time, and there may become a point where there were really kids getting, schools being bombed and kids getting killed, and at that point I'd be like, okay, well the risk is going up,
so
and
how
it
many
actually
schools
makes sense
have to be bombed before you're willing to take a school's bomb threat seriously?
Usually,
and by seriously, I don't mean calling the police, rob people, use taxation to pay for it, things like that. I mean, just
I would probably
send the kids out of the school.
I'd have probably a pretty, I'd probably take it pretty far just because honestly, it's one of those things that, when we react, we overreact. And I've seen what happens in schools, from, school shootings and things like that. I was in school when a lot of that stuff was going on, and the reaction in schools across the country was just ridiculous considering how much money was spent for what really still remains a very, very unlikely scenario.
Sure.
I mean, I know there were quite a few, kids that got killed in a number of different cases.
Well, that's
but
why
there's
I
a lot of schools in America
that you still haven't answered, which is, how much money are you willing to pay to keep kids from being killed? How much is too much?
Are we talking about per child, or are we talking about is it coming out of my own pocket for my own kid?
Let's say per child.
I don't know. I mean, I would have to evaluate, how much risk is there really? I mean, are we talking about? Okay, here's the question: is it going to be as risky as getting in a car?
We don't know that until we spend the money to investigate the threat.
No, what I'm trying to say is, are the number of kids getting killed as many as are dying from car accidents?
We don't know that until we investigate it.
Well, but statistically, we do, right?
So your answer is $0. $0 until children have been killed.
Very close to it, probably. I mean, look, I might be willing to spend.
See, human life is worth more to me than that. See, if you were to tell me, okay, here's a person, they're starving to death and they're gonna die.
I would rather spend that money on starving children than on, potentially protecting them from dying. So whatever the figure is, I don't care what it is. Right now, at this time,
you would rather them be blown up than starve to death.
Given the current risk, yes.
Okay.
Because you're going to save a heck of a lot more children by redirecting those funds to starving children than you are by investigating crimes that, don't actually result in any harm.
But again, you're splitting it into a false dichotomy of, and sure, it's true in a very myopic sense that a single dollar can only be spent on one given thing.
Yeah, and I understand what you're arguing. I just think when there's not a it's just not worth putting any resources into. That might change, but right now it's just not worth it.
Any additional comments, Rev?
Oh, yeah, I'll get off here in a second. But I'm just saying what's interesting to me is not to get too conspiratorial, especially towards the end, but I just always have to wonder, and again, I'm pretty anti-statist myself, but the thing is that, like, if they really want to prevent or stop so many more of these potential shootings, I don't understand why uniformly armed guards or officers or even just metal detectors and things of this nature are not being implemented in at least every public, taxpayer-related kind of school. It's almost like the state leaves this open so that it can slowly erode our gun rights and create division on both sides. I'm pretty partisan myself, obviously, towards the far right. But, it's like if they really, all this bomb threat stuff you guys are discussing, why not just actually hit the problem at its core? Like, they waste tax money anyway. Why would they?
I can tell you why. It's dumb and stupid because the people who they hire will just run away and they actually do. The second there's an actual real threat. I mean, that's what we've actually seen. They just run and they say, well, I was trained to run because I can't defend the school. I have to put my own safety first. And I guess for whatever reason, this is law enforcement thinking. I have to wait for a backup, and backup won't come, for another 20 minutes. And by that point, the kids will already have, wiped out half the kids in the school anyway. So why bother?
Well, yeah, that seems. I mean, that does happen.
I'm thinking about this in terms of armed teachers, because that to me seems like it would be the most obvious solution. Arm the teachers. And arm the students. Arm everybody, realistically.
Hey, I'm all for sending my kid to school with a gun.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's how we stop shooters.
You train them properly, and it doesn't even have to be loaded. A gun. Have some bullets in the pocket, whatever.
I mean, that is how we stop shooters. You shoot them.
So
yeah, you don't have a gun. You're already there on site with the gun. You can put a stop to it.
You don't have to have a 0-second response time. You just have to have access to, the weaponry, and enough people, and it doesn't have to be everybody.
The last thing, if I could chime in real quick, Chris, what you said has been, demonstrably true at least part of the time, and you have had some a-hole law enforcement officers, like the a-hole at Pulse, that there were conflicting accounts that he ran away when the a-hole Muslim self-hating guy was, shooting all the people. But there have been, to be fair, as much as we all may hate law enforcement on the merits philosophically, there have been some pretty courageous and well-trained law enforcement, military, and even private security people that have risen to the occasion. And it also does not dispel, again, why not just put in metal detectors and have reserves nearby? I'll get off the phone. You guys have a good night. I'll be listening.
I agree.
All right, thanks for calling us, Rev.
I do want to make one point.
Thanks for listening to the show.
I do want to make one point there. Just because people can rise to the occasion doesn't mean that's how they're trained, and that's kind of the problem. They're not trained.
And I think it's unrelated to law enforcement. I mean, we have ordinary citizens rising to the occasion.
Right. Exactly. It's individual officers certainly can do good things, but they're not trained to do those good things. They're not trained to put their life in danger to save the kids. They're trained to wait for backup, and then at that point, the kids are they're. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say half of them I did say half of them end up dead, but that was an exaggeration, obviously. Right. A percentage of them, probably not even a large percentage. Usually it's like maybe 20 in most cases, like at most, end up dying.
Well, I would certainly rather have at least the female teachers of the school being armed, because they do have that maternal instinct, Once things start going down, I don't see very many female teachers just up and running. At least not in the way that I would expect a cop to.
Yeah, I don't even necessarily know that there really needs to be a lot of people armed in schools, generally speaking. I mean, honestly, I think if there are some people who are armed, that's probably going to be adequate.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see everybody, because not everybody is going to be qualified.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's just unnecessary.
Yeah, but it only takes one person to put down a shooter.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be back here in just a few minutes.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.fm in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.fm. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Last month, the FDA approved Hallucex, a new class of weight loss drug that helps users avoid overeating by producing nightmarish hallucinations whenever food is around. Hallucex targets the brain's cerebral cortex, stimulating the centers responsible for fear and visual processing. Test subjects reported an unprecedented decrease in appetite and showed dramatic weight loss, with only 18% reporting night terrors or subsequent cardiac arrest.
It's designed to make fatty and sugary foods even scarier. An apple just looks like it has fangs, but a milkshake will threaten you and your family by name.
Earlier incarnations of the drug proved to be too powerful and produced mental states in which test subjects no longer believed that food had ever existed. An unshakable belief that the subject had to eat all of the food on the planet in order to prevent food from rising up and destroying the human race.
No, you don't understand. I have to do this.
Or the conviction that food could be negotiated with diplomatically. With the Lab Report, I'm Aisha Patel.
This is the Onion News Network.
Join the LRN.FM Discord for live chat 24/7 at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
You are listening to the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. आप सुन रहे हैं स्वतंत्रता की पुकार सिर्फ और सिर्फ LRN.FM पे।
Welcome back to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. We're broadcasting from the Horizon.global studio, and it is actually time for the Cannabis Hour, or the Cannabis segment.
We're done with killing kids?
Yeah, I guess so. Darn. Yeah, gotta keep up with the format.
And Mark over here is giving us the look.
Oh, wait till...
He didn't hear the other part of it.
When the podcast for this goes up, you've got to listen to the first part of that conversation. It's a good one.
It is.
Senate could vote on Trump-backed federal cannabis legislation Tuesday. They did not, but they could have. Coming to us from High Times, the United States Senate could vote to legalize cannabis at the federal level on Tuesday, That's technically not correct. What they're doing is that the federal government won't outlaw cannabis, but that's not quite the same as legalizing it in the sense that we understand it. They're not saying it's okay. They're saying we're going to let the states determine whether or not it's okay.
Aren't they just saying that they're not going to change the law, which means it's still illegal?
Well, they want to rewrite, or they want to add an amendment, effectively, to the Controlled Substances Act that would exclude marijuana from its provisions.
All right, so they don't want to do that, which means they want to keep it illegal at the federal level.
No, they do want to do that. That's what the law is about.
The people who wrote the law, but they decided based on a vote, right, that they were not going to pass that, so they decided against it.
No, it passed with 81 to 12.
Oh, it did pass. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Well, it passed in the Senate.
This way you
81 to 12.
Okay, but it didn't pass in the House, or it hasn't yet passed in the House?
It doesn't seem to have yet passed in the House.
Okay, so it's still in the House, though?
Yes.
Okay. So we're still just waiting on it?
I think so.
So it may or may not pass?
Yeah, it may not. Well, actually, according to Congress.gov, it still hasn't passed the Senate. But what I'm just looking at says it did, and it gave me the vote totals. So I'm going to assume that since it's a .gov site, it probably hasn't been updated yet. So Gardner said that the legalization of cannabis by states is protected by the Bill of Rights, which obviously it took a constitutional amendment to prohibit alcohol. You would think they would have the intelligence to at least understand that it would take a constitutional amendment to prohibit marijuana.
Fortunately, the Supreme Court didn't agree with that.
Well, yeah, of course not, because the purpose of the Supreme Court is not to challenge the government, it's to rubber stamp and approve what the government does.
Yeah, largely.
Saturday marked the 227th anniversary of the ratification of the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, Gardner said on Monday. It says that the power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. I can think of no better way to honor that milestone than to pass the Bipartisan States Act, and I can think of no better legislation to attach the States Act to than the First Step Act. Oh, God, it's already giving me a headache trying to figure out what in the hell these people are doing. Why can't they just go, okay, we're passing a law, legal pot, done? Or let me even rephrase
You
that.
want the Twitter version, huh?
Yes, I do. If a law is longer than a tweet, I want them to burn it and write a new one that can fit within 160 characters. For what? Is it? It's 140? It's SMS. It's 160. Down? So I just assumed that. Interesting. Good to know. Well, even better. If it can't fit within 140 characters, if you can't condense it to a single sentence, our government should not be doing it. Well, they shouldn't be doing it.
They're just going to give you run-on sentences then, right?
That's what they do now. Yeah. I mean, have you seen some of this crap? You can actually pull up the text of the bill here on the Congress.gov website. And this thing right here that I'm looking at is just one giant freaking sentence that doesn't make any sense to anybody. Check it out. Section 409 of the Controlled Substances Act, 21 U.S.C. 849, is amended in subsection B in the matter preceding paragraph 1A by striking a person and inserting except as provided in subsection D, a person, and B. What use is this to anyone who is not already insane? Because you got to be insane to be like, okay, this is referencing this, so I need to go back and look at this and see what this is referencing. Oh, but this is striking this part of subsection C and adding this part here. And okay, look, we need tweet laws. That's it, man. Take all of this crap that you've written here, give it to Trump, and say, tweet this. Done. That's the law. That's what you vote on. Donald Trump's tweets. We would vote no on everything, but that's okay because that's what I want.
Yeah. That's
I mean, it's relatively short as far as bills go. It looks like it would be 3 pages maybe if printed.
Oh, that's nothing.
Yeah, I know, but it's all that. Rule of construction in general, conduct in compliance with this act and the amendments made by this act shall not be unlawful. Okay, this is actually plain English. Well, it was. The proceeds from any transactions in compliance with this act and the amendments made by this act shall not be deemed to be the proceeds of an unlawful transaction under Section 1956 or 1957 of Title 18 United States Code or any other provision of law. Cool story, bruh. Thanks for doing absolutely nothing that makes sense to anyone. I mean, who was it? Benjamin Franklin, who said that, it's no use for the people to have access to these laws if they're so long that no one can understand them. What's the tax code at? Like 10,000 pages now?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got some perspective. I've written a 1,300-page book. I've got some perspective on what 10,000 pages is like. It's massive.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine how permanently damaged the brain of the poor intern who had to type that crap out is. They have to be in an insane asylum by now. Obviously, it was multiple interns because they just keep adding provisions and crap to it. But I imagine it's just 10,000 pages of this.
These bills that get passed that are these 10,000 page bills. How long did that take to write? Clearly, it must have taken I would think it must have taken a really, really long time. Probably longer than they actually had available, like during the session, during their time in office, maybe, right?
I'm willing to bet, because of the importance of eliminating typos and things like that, that it takes longer to write a 10,000-page bill than it would to write a 10,000-page
in legalese,
novel.
It's not just, normal conversational writing.
Yeah, and they have to constantly reference other legalese. So, I mean, 10,000 pages of that.
I mean, anything that passes that's that long has had to have been in the works for a very, very long time, or just be rehashing, something that was already they tried to get to pass that didn't pass, or maybe did pass but got thrown out of the court system, et cetera, et cetera. What are those child's? I forget what it's called, Child Online Protection Act or something like that they tried to pass like a dozen times, and every time it got thrown out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
You mean like SOPA and PIPA?
I don't even remember anymore. Possibly.
Well, I think those were more about internet kill switches that the government wanted.
Yeah, I don't know. It was that. I'm thinking this happened, I think, more in the 90s. So that's too recent. Okay. Yeah, like in the
SOPA
90s and like early 2000s.
I think.
Yeah, I think this is older than that. But it's sort of like the newer legislation where they outlawed supposed sex trafficking. That's really just like basically an attack on prostitutes and hosting providers and things of that nature, and Craigslist.
Yeah, that was seriously problematic.
Oh yeah, and that we're still seeing the consequences of that. But I'm waiting for that to be thrown out because I suspect it's a lot of the same rehashing of what we already had multiple times thrown out by the Supreme Court. But
if you want to legalize, if you want to actually do something about sex trafficking, legalize prostitution.
Yeah,
I mean that would fix the problem.
Yeah,
because you don't have pimps in Vegas where prostitution is no longer legal. It's legal within the county, but not the city limits of Las Vegas.
Was it ever?
I think it used to be.
Are you sure? I thought it was always outside of the city limits that it was legal.
I don't know.
Like a town over or something like that.
I'm not an expert.
Fair enough.
Subject. But you don't have pimps there drugging chicks and smacking them around because it's legal. It's an upfront, above the table business. And ideally, we would have that everywhere. Get rid of the pimps, get rid of the drugs, get rid of the diseases, and actually legalize it and let these people treat it like any other business.
Yep, the worst thing they could have done to prostitutes was passing that law.
Yep. Well, this has been the Call to Freedom, but don't go anywhere. We'll have more of this discussion coming up tomorrow. Not this discussion, but more related conversation, probably with less yelling from yours truly, coming tomorrow. But don't go anywhere, because Free Talk Live is coming up next.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, the road to freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You're 6 minutes away from a live episode of Free Talk Live. Listen live at freetalklive.com.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Tuesday, December 18th, 2018. Silver is trading at $14.65 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,249 per ounce. Zen is trading at $5, and the average price of Bitcoin is $3,539. Antiwar.com reports, speaking on Monday, U.S. Special Envoy James Jeffrey confirmed that the U.S. is no longer demanding regime change in Syria and is not actively trying to force Syrian President Bashar Assad from office. That said, the American goal is a regime that is fundamentally different, even if it includes Assad. Jeffrey said Assad must accept such a compromise because he has not yet won the Syrian war. The U.S. has long demanded